got Timber through some local resident. Timber was about 8 pounds when we got him. He was playful and did all the kind of normal puppy stuff, but sometimes he would kind of corner himself in a part of the house, and especially when we would feed him, he kind of wanted to be alone. So there were some things that he did that were a little confusing, and he didn't really wag his tail. The issues that we had with Timber is that he was aggressive, and he first started guarding his food from us when we would feed him and want to bite us when we were near his food, or he just wanted to protect it from us, which was weird because we were the ones feeding him. He sometimes would guard me from other people. As people came up to us that were strangers, he didn't really want strangers around. He kind of would jump at people or try to bite people randomly, and we never really knew what would trigger him, because sometimes people would come up and he would be super happy and almost act like a normal dog, and then some days he didn't want someone near, so that was hard to tell what his triggers were. We tried to fix it by taking him to trainers and understanding how we could train it out of him, doing a lot of work with his food, trying to have his food out and practice him not guarding it from us and getting aggressive when his food was out. And he would go from 0 to 60, so we didn't have much warning if he decided to launch himself at someone. And we put an e-collar on him so that we could try to correct him, which was what our trainer had told us to do. So that's kind of how we tried to help with his behavioral issues. Timber's breed was a mix of Border Collie. His mom was a Border Collie Pit Bull mix, and his dad was a full Siberian white Husky. When I was sitting once with a blanket on the grass with some other people when he was younger, this was the first time he kind of showed aggression towards another person. He kind of jumped up and kind of growled at a young girl that came over to sit with us that was in our group. He didn't bite, but he wanted to scare her off. Another time he launched himself and tried actually to bite when he was older. My husband Doug's sister, so he was very much like, Jekyll and Hyde. Like, he had two sides of him that I just never knew which side of the coin I was going to get that day. If he was going to be like the playful dog, or if he was going to be more aggressive and just didn't want anything to do with me. Anyone that knew us knew that Timber had issues. I mean, we didn't let people around him really. So it was pretty apparent that his issues were getting worse when we didn't let people come over. Anytime people did come over, we would make sure that he was staying with my parents, who he did trust and wasn't really aggressive with, and most of the time they would leave him outside anyway just to avoid any risk of aggression at them. Most of our weekends were spent training Timber, working on his behavioral issues, and would see, trainers in LA that rehabilitate dogs that kill other dogs, like really hardcore aggressive trainers we would go to, because his issues weren't about, learning to sit and stay and obey commands. It was controlling his own behavioral issues that we just didn't understand what those triggers were and why he would get so aggressive at people for no reason. Doug was working with Timber, doing some training with his food. That's where a lot of his aggression showed up, was first around food, and they call it resource guarding. I had a bowl of food out and was trying to hand feed him and get him to trust people being around his food. And so he was eating, and Doug had reached his hand by him, and he bit Doug in the hand and did kind of like the death shake that dogs do when they're trying to, kill something in the wild. He was still very aggressive, and it just no longer felt safe in the house to have him around anymore. The day we put Timber down, we drove him to a vet, and that's where he was euthanized and put down. It was hard to put him down, obviously, because he was our dog and we got him as a puppy, and that was what we were trying to avoid doing with all of our training and efforts to rehabilitate him. And none of the training was really working, and even one of our trainers said, even if he does respond to the training, he could always relapse, and that relapse could be devastating. I mean, he could attack a child, he could permanently scar someone's face if he attacked someone in the face, and so he was just always a liability, even if he started responding better to the training.
Oh boy. Wow. All right, over. Come on, over. Yeah. You love the grass.